Sonic has always been one of the most popular and recognizable icons of the gaming industry. And for good reason too. Back in the 90s, he was on fire with this cool attitude and fun games, but the key word was in the 90s. Now Sonic is definitely recognizable, but sometimes for the wrong reasons. Nowadays, Sonic is kind of known for being that one mediocre guy in the crowd. I mean, look at all the most recent Sonic game scores on Metacritic. Pretty bad, really good, fucking terrible, dog shit. Oh, this one's not bad. This one was good. Bad, gross, one of the worst games ever. You know, fans the word consistency are probably really pissed at all these. But believe it or not, there's actually a time where Sonic was considered a good franchise, i.e. back in the 90s in the Sega Genesis. So to celebrate his recent 30th anniversary, I decided to go back and review all of the classic Sonic games on the Genesis.
Including Sonic Spinball?
All of the good classic Sonic games on the Genesis.
Okay, but Sonic Eraser 2, right?
Fuck you.
You have a mental illness if you think it's a bad game. You crippling, fuck.
Oh cool, I can mute him now. That'll be good to know. Just a quick heads up before going into these reviews, there's quite a high chance I'll be pretty biased here. You see those 26 letters in my channel banner? Yeah, well they actually mean something. Why, you ask? Well, I grew up with these games. Some more than others, but these games were a big part of my childhood. And I've played these games lots of times before, so expect a little bias in these reviews. And when I say a little bias, I mean expect me to give these games a higher score than Last of Us 2. Also, for this video I'm going to be playing on the Sega Genesis Classics Collection. It's a collection of Sega Genesis / Mega Drive games that also include Sonic 1 and 2, but not 3 and Knuckles. But I'm pretty sure it's because of that game's legal issues with the soundtrack. The story of Sonic 1, or premise I should say, follows Sonic the Hedgehog, believe it or not, who goes on a journey to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman as he was called in Japan, but later adapted that name in the Adventure series and beyond, who for whatever reason encapsulated all the little creatures on Sonic's home island, South Island. And since Sonic can have none of that shit, he goes to stop Dr. Robotnik to restore peace to his home. Obviously the story here is incredibly simple, which really isn't a bad thing since, I mean, come on, this is 1991. And I think the story here is good enough, and it also establishes the dynamic between Sonic and Eggman, I mean Robotnik, shit. It wasn't really until the adventure games where Sonic got his cool and cocky attitude, but those games are a story for another day. Well, it's not to say signature attitude isn't present in this game. He's also an impatient bitch if you're just scratching your balls for half a second. Now let's get into the core of Sonic's gameplay. Like most platformers around this time, Sonic can do two things: move left and right and jump. Pretty standard stuff. He doesn't have any of what will become his staple abilities such as the spin dash and humming attack. Although if you're playing the Christian Whitehead mobile port released in 2013 for mobile phones, you do have access to the spin dash. I would play that for this review considering how I do have it, and it is really the definitive version. I'm not a fucking dork, I don't play games on my phone. Fortunately though, it looks like the Christian Whitehead ports will be making their way to consoles with the recently announced Sonic Origins collection, so that's good. Anyways, back to the actual game. The main thing that separated Sonic from the rest of the platformers in the crown was that, well, he can go fast. It's not like Mario where there's a dedicated button to go faster. No, in Sonic you actually have to gain speed and accelerate over time. You can also hold down while moving to curl into a ball like an actual hedgehog, which can increase your momentum even more. Because of the way you have to actually earn speed, it makes it kind of feel like a reward, you know? Like, it's super satisfying to be able to go super fast after some tricky platforming in my opinion. In the levels, there are these things you can collect that are called rings. They're similar to the coins in Mario, but work a little differently, since this time they sort of act as your like health bar. After getting hit, all of your rings will scatter everywhere and you'll have to frantically pick them up as much as you can with your invincibility frames. Since if you take a hit with 0 rings, you'll lose a life. You can also get 10 rings from breaking these ring monitors, and collecting 100 will grant you an extra life. Oh yeah, speaking of those monitors, in some places you can find these monitors that upon breaking can grant you something such as an extra life, some more rings, a shield that'll let you take an extra hit, speed shoes to make you go faster, or let you go invincible for a short period of time. So they're basically like question mark blocks for Mario. There are also these badniks, which are the creatures Eggman encapsulated you can encounter, which aren't much. All of them can be dealt with in a single hit, but that's not to say there isn't any variety. You have the Motobugs, Buzz Bombers, the Crabs, and these Piranhas to name a few. Now, it isn't a platform without good level design, right? So why don't we talk about the levels? Sonic 1 is a total of 6 zones, including a final boss one, each with 3 acts except for the last one, which the acts are basically just different levels within the zone following the same theme and all that jazz. Third act usually has a boss at the end, and I'll talk more about those later. So why don't we do a not so quick rundown of all the zones? As soon as you boot up the game, it throws you into the first area, Green Hill Zone, which is one of the most iconic levels in all of gaming. And for good reason too. I believe Green Hill Zone may already be the best zone this game has to offer. It does just about everything right. It does a great job introducing the player to Sonic's mechanics, how you have to actually earn speed through building a momentum, so the zone has a pretty good balance between speedy sequences and careful platforming that's still pretty easy. On top of that, it uses a lot of vibrant colors, which makes it more appealing, something a lot of the later zones ditch for some reason. Like seriously, what happened to all the vibrant colors? I like them. Also the music, not only is it iconic as hell, but just a great composition overall. The stage is also the most open out of all the zones in the game. There are multiple different paths you can take, with the upper paths being more rewarding since they're the hardest to get up to, and the lower paths are a lot more punishing because fuck you, you're a fucking loser for falling all the way down here. The boss fight at the end of the third act is incredibly basic, since you just have to avoid Eggman's giant wrecking ball thing and hit him a bunch of times. It's still passable since, you know, first level and all. Oh boy, what a great first impression that was. I hope the next one is just as good, if not better. Next Next up is Marble Zone, which, let's be honest, this zone is ass shit. You know how I said Green Hill does a great job establishing the balance between platforming and speed? Yeah, well, this zone ditches that. It is nothing but tedium. The zone is just so damn slow and tedious, like there's so much waiting for this platform to move across the lava, waiting for these pillars, waiting for this spike chandelier, which, speaking of which, how was I supposed to see that coming? Like, I mean, yeah, Green Hill has platforming too, but in between that, you get to actually go fast, you know, the thing Sonic is known for. Now, to break from the tedium, you can take some more ballsy moves and do stuff like go ahead of this slow-ass platform, but the stage wasn't really designed with those shortcuts in mind, so it won't cut it any slack. Also, the level isn't very interesting thematically. Most of the level is spent underground in this cave or whatever you'd call it, but I mean, I like the aesthetics of when you're on the surface, which is like 3% of the level. By the way, whoever designed these caterpillar enemies can go shit themselves. Seriously, it's so damn annoying when you're slogging through Marble Zone, already not having a fun time, then you gotta say goodbye to your rings because you never fucking see them coming. The boss here in the zone isn't bad. I can say it's better than the one in Green Hill, although it isn't that different, since it's basically just you jumping from side to side, hitting Robotnik when he's open. Which, now that I think about it, this is just a harder version of the boss in Green Hill. Hey Mario, how would you describe Marble Zone with a single word? Shit. You heard it here, folks. Now on to the next zone. Spring Yard Zone is next, and fortunately this level's a lot better than the shit stain that was Marble Zone, since there are actual moments where you can gain speed. Look, Marble Zone, they're using the main gimmick of the game. This zone was also the first of many locations in Sonic to have a shit ton of springs, so if you didn't like them in the first place, then cry about it, motherfucker. And that's not to say there isn't platforming, there is, and there's a lot more than there was here in Green Hill. There are quite a few times we have to go up or down on these switching platforms. It got boring quick, but these were decently few and far between. Also, there are a few of these sections where you're going down a hallway, then there are these spikes moving up or down, which are super annoying, and you'll probably get hit by them no matter what in your first time through, which obviously didn't happen to me recording footage for this video since I've beaten this game countless times. So where are my cool kid points at? Also, there are these parts where you have these arches with spikes rolling around that I really hate because it's super easy to get hit by them because you start accelerating instantly. Also, there are a few times where there are bottomless pits and areas you wouldn't really expect to find themselves, also pretty annoying. So yeah, this zone isn't bad. It's not as good as Green Hill, it does have a bit of jank in it, but it's still fun, although I'm not gonna lie, when replaying this for the video, it felt like there's a lot more actual platforming than I remember there being. Also, why does this sign in Spring Yard say cope? Could this be a sign that the next zone is gonna be really bad, thus telling us to cope with the pain? Labyrinth Zone is next, and so is my attempted suicide. First off, I just want to start by saying there are some things I genuinely like. The music is really good and I enjoy the aesthetics here, so pretty much everything but the level itself. But even those aren't enough to cope with the dumpster fire that is this zone. You see, there's a thing we like to use to describe Labyrinth Zone, and that's... Have you pissed yourself yet? Ah yes, the classic video game water level, the best known for being fucking terrible with a few exceptions. The main issue with water levels most of the time is that, well, you're just slow and floaty as hell and that's just not fun. But Labyrinth Zone pisses all over the content of water levels even more because for some goddamn reason Sonic can't swim. But he can breathe in space. You know, you'd think that for a series known for speed, the typical bad level themes like underwater levels would at least be more tolerable than other platformers, right? No, you're fucking wrong! Going underwater as Sonic is pretty much the exact same as it would be normally, except you're extremely slow and jumps are super floaty. But the issue is Sonic can only breathe for about 30 seconds until... The way to avoid this issue is collecting these things called air bubbles, which are signified by these little bubbles on the ground. Now, they're fairly abundant, and the only real issue with these is that sometimes when you desperately need them, there's a chance you'll just get fucked and doesn't really feel like it was your fault when you die. Also, the fucking slowdown from getting hit. It feels like I've grown a beard and had 4 grandchildren by the time it goes back to a consistent frame rate. And the actual level design really doesn't help either. These grounders are annoying as hell, so sometimes it can be pretty hard to see coming. And there are a bunch of just trial and error where I die for something I didn't see coming, which that's the game design equivalent of the fucking Holocaust. Also, in Act 3, there's this looping part where you're falling down this waterfall, and the only way to break the cycle is to get this super fucking precise jump that takes like a minute for me to pull off each time I replay this game. Also, the boss fight is like non-existent. You just chase Robotnik through this platforming part where the water is slowly catching up to you. And speaking of which, some of these jumps are stupidly precise to pull off. Overall, Labyrinth Zone just sucks. Sorry to disappoint the 3 people worldwide who actually enjoy this zone. The only thing it's good at is capturing the 16-bit essence of the word dog shit. It's like a normal Sonic zone, except take away everything that made it good in the first place and make it slow as hell. So really, it's something like a good Sonic level. Starlight Zone is next, and would you look at that, an actual quality Sonic zone. I really love the atmosphere of this zone. The midnight sky in the background, the level design that isn't incredibly irritating, and the music. Oh man, do I love the music here. It's such a relaxing tune. And on top of that, it's super refreshing after surviving the pile of feces that was Labyrinth. I'd say this one is the second best out of them all. It has a lot of speed sections as well as platforming, which isn't bad, but it just doesn't really have the charm Green Hill Zone has, if that makes sense. Also, I didn't think I'd be praising Sonic 1 for this, but Starlight Zone is an actual good boss. Now, the rest weren't exactly bad, but they were very simple, which was okay. But in Starlight, the boss has you using these seesaws to launch up these spike balls to hit Dr. Robotnik. Not only is the boss here just fun in general, but the seesaws are actually established as a gimmick earlier on in the zone. So the boss here feels like the boss was specifically made for this zone rather than just being in that zone, because somebody please tell me how digging into the ground and breaking it relates to springs and shit. Last but not really, we have Scrap Brain Zone. Scrap Brain is a 16-bit Sega Genesis equivalent of getting kicked in the balls. Then once you're on the ground crying for your lost comrades, you get stepped on a dozen times. The reason I make this comparison is because this zone is just so goddamn annoying. Like, you can't mind your own business for like 5 seconds because of the amount of obstacles trying to fucking kill you. Like, look at the first 5 seconds of Act 1. You get what I'm saying? And there aren't any parts where you get to gain speed and go fast. It's just about annoying obstacles beating your dead corpse again and again. Like, I get it, it's the final stretch. It makes sense to at least be hard, but there's a difference between a genuine challenge and just trial and error again and again. There's so many things in the zone that you won't see coming on your first playthrough. Like, oh yeah, because I expected for that bridge to immediately fly from under my feet and kill me. Also, Act 3 is literally just Act 4 of Labyrinth Zone. Why? Out of all the zones to bring back, why did it have to be fucking Labyrinth? Now, to be fair, this act is a lot shorter than any of the acts in Labyrinth, but more water levels equals bad. Like with how I feel about Labyrinth Zone, I really enjoy the level theme and the music. Oh, the music. But this level design is just so damn unfair. Now it's time for Final Zone, the real last zone of the game. This one is dedicated entirely to the boss fight. You don't get any rings, there's only one act to it. A lot of people shit on this boss for being too easy for a final boss, and while I don't disagree with that mindset, I think this is a good boss. I'd say it's my second favorite right behind Starlight's boss, because really what other competition is there? The boss here has you avoiding these pillars that can instantly crush you, which one will contain Robotnik, so you have to hit him before it goes back into the ground. In between that, there are these energy ball things that you have to dodge that are really easy to evade. Even easier for playing on the mobile part with the spin dash. After that rather easy final showdown with the fat ass himself, Sonic runs back to his home at Green Hill, jumps towards the camera because, I don't know, he feels like it, I guess, and the game ends. Also, can I just say that I love the melody during the credits of the zone themes? Such a great way to close off the game. However, there's actually no other ending you can get in this game. Oh boy, it's time to talk about the special stages. In any act of a zone, not including the third one, if you reach the goal with 50 or more rings, a giant ring will appear, and upon jumping into it, you're greeted with cancer. A lot of people say that these special stages are horse shit, which I definitely agree with. I don't know, it just feels like you're never in control of the stage and there's always twisting and turning, and it's just not fun. Unlike a lot of people here talking about these, I don't really get disoriented or have any form of motion sickness playing these, but I still dislike them. I rarely try and go for these, mostly because I just don't care about getting flowers in the end. And some of the level designs make it really hard to actually nab 50 rings. It also kind of forces you to take things slow, which is just straight up not fun. During my playthrough, I was only able to grab 2 of the 6 Chaos Emeralds. The first one I got in the second act of Green Hill because I had an epic fail in the first act, and the second in Starlight Zone, oddly enough. And that's pretty much all there is to Sonic 1, honestly. It's a pretty short game, only took me about an hour and a half for this review. And overall, do I think Sonic 1 is a good game? Despite all the issues I have with it, yeah. When it's good, it's a load of fun, but when it's not so good, it can be quite a drag to play through. Sonic 1 did do a great job of establishing the ground rules for the franchise. A speedy blue hedgehog trying to stop a fat scientist in the mix of speed and precise platforming. However, there are a lot of parts in this game where the design is just straight up unfair and relies too much on trial and error. The worst part about Sonic 1, honestly, is just that it gets outdone by its sequels, introducing new characters, more for level design and new abilities. Really, I just think the other games after Sonic would improve on the formula established here so much that it makes the game look worse than it actually is. Although, to be honest, I think this one is my least favorite out of the Genesis era. Around half of the entire game is just not that fun, honestly. Although I am still biased against this game since I grew up playing this one.
When are you reviewing the best Sonic game?
What the how did you unmute yourself? Also, what is this best Sonic game you speak of exactly?
Well, Sonic Unleashed, obviously, right, Isaac?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Look, I'd like to get to the adventure in other modern Sonic games one day, but not anytime soon, okay? And for this marathon, we're gonna be sticking exclusively to the original Genesis games.
Turbo Experience Machine?
Oh, fuck off. Anyways, tune into the next episode where I take a look at the next game up in the classic Sonic trilogy, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.